it certainly appeared that you kind of self-eliminated yourself this week. What was it that kind of made you want to take that step? And do you have any regrets about that?
Well, I do have regrets because now my daughter is hooked on the show and wants to keep watching it. And I'm like, well, I'm not in it anymore. And she's like, I don't care. I'm watching this. So in that respect, I do wish, she hadn't seen me like opt out like that, but it was just physically too much for me. I couldn't bear it anymore. I live in my head, and as a comedian, it was fun for a little bit, but just the continuous pressure to be physical, it was just like way too hard for me.
Was there something that was there in a breaking point of sorts, or was it just kind of cumulative where you're like, yeah, no, I'm tired, I gotta go?
I mean, my breaking point was the first time they put us out there. It was like so scary, and like there was wind blowing everywhere. I didn't know what to expect. Everyone was freaking out. I mean, I just went into it really not wanting to be the first person to leave. Um, so I feel like I succeeded.
You did. So what was your favorite part of the experience as a whole, looking back on it?
My favorite part was probably, just getting to know everybody in a social way. It was really fun, and observing people, and everyone was kind of at the top of their game, but in a lot of fields I wasn't really, familiar with, and when do I get to hang around Olympians and world-class athletes and, famous football players? And it was just a really fun experience.
Outside of the physical element, what was the most difficult portion of the show for you?
I thought it was going to be leaving my family, but it turns out after like 2 or 3 days in a different time zone, you just kind of forget about them. So that was good. Honestly, the food was really challenging, to not be able to eat what you want, and there was really no choices. So I can be a little bit snobby about that. So I just kind of chose to not eat. Um, which I was starting to look really good, after after about 2 weeks. I was like, oh, I can maybe keep this up. But yeah, no, it was time for me to go.
Well, that probably also didn't help with the physical challenges as well if you weren't eating enough, and that was probably everything.
Exactly.
It's a bad cycle. So, without asking for specific spoilers, do you know who won the season?
I do.
Okay, then I cannot ask you who you think should win, but in without spoiling who won, what can you say about who you think might be dark horses, or can you say who you think might be dark horses as we get further into this process?
Well, I think that, there were varying degrees with which people took this seriously. And so I think that some of the people who took it more seriously, even though they might not be physically as capable as some of the others, I think that is a really important thing, something I wasn't able to do. Every time they told us we were on Mars, I would just kind of roll my eyes and be like, okay, but we're not on Mars. Can we all just like at least confirm that? But I do think that there are a few people who took it more seriously, and let's just say that actually helps.
That completely makes sense. Outside of your daughter, what has been the best reaction you've gotten to your time on the show?
I don't know. I was just at a hot springs in the middle of Oregon, and this woman, it was a nude, it was like a clothing optional. So this naked woman came up to me, and she was like this super hot, I don't know if she was a model or what, but she was just like, "Oh my God, you're from Stars on Mars. I love that show." And it was definitely a weird experience having a fan come up to you when they're totally naked and you're naked, and um that's just life with someone who goes to Burning Man every year.
It's fantastic. Well, I know we're obviously in a very weird time in the industry, but is there anything else that you have coming up that you really want to promote before I let you go?
Yeah, I have a podcast I do with my husband, Moshe Kasher. It's called the Endless Honeymoon Podcast, and we give relationship advice. We're actually in Portland right now. We just had a live taping. We also play people's deep, dark secrets. And it's just been such a fun thing that we started doing during the pandemic. We ramped it up during the pandemic to twice a week. And it was just such a great experience because I feel like it helped me just as much as we helped other people, you know. So it's something that I really love doing, and hopefully you guys check it out. Endless Honeymoon Podcast. It's you can watch it all on YouTube.
Absolutely. So before I let you go, is there anything else you want to say about your time on Stars on Mars that we haven't discussed?
I'm just looking forward to see how these four new people do with the physical challenges, and then they'll know I wasn't lying.